Morning Bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers joining you on a Thursday edition, the last Thursday of the summer schedule. Because Connor and I go to 3 episodes a week starting next week, but we wanted to officially end the summer in the best way possible, and that's with getting you guys involved in the show with a full episode of your mailbag questions. So that's what we are doing today. We're going through every single question that we could find with the iTunes review, through YouTube comments, DMs, Twitter format, everything. We're getting as many questions as we possibly can over what we think the episode will be in about an hour. Connor, I hope my voice doesn't sound too different because I'm back in lovely Cincinnati for the season because that's where PFF's headquarters are. So hopefully the echo isn't too bad for you and the rest of the listeners if you guys notice an audio change for me.
No, and if you're watching on YouTube, Trevor's got his old kitchen background flowing. We are officially back, boys. I mean, look at this right now. We are going back to 3 shows a week starting next week. Obviously, when we get there, everybody will get familiar with our format because they will be a little bit more formatted than us just bouncing around with a lot of fun stuff in the summer. But, man, it's a good time because there's no better time than to do a mailbag now. It's been a while. When the season starts, it just feels like 1,000 different things head in our direction, especially since you and I dive into both NFL, college, draft, rookie analysis. So this is the right time for a mailbag show.
Our schedules are going to get so crazy that at some point I'm just going to have to leave and just start cooking food or something.
Yeah, when I'm on a long rant.
You're just going to, yeah, the second I hear you go off on the Jets or something, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm going to go
check the stove, quick.
I'm just going to go microwave some food or something. So this is good. This is great. The setting is great for me because it's right there, and I'll let you get your takes off. And that's
I've considered putting a mini fridge up here.
You don't have one?
Not up here, no. I'll be completely honest with you. Since the pandemic, and I won't disclose it because I'm embarrassed. My electric bill in this new apartment, I have a beer fridge downstairs in the kitchen, separate from the real fridge. Wow. If I add a third fridge to this apartment, I think my girlfriend will kill me, and I think PSEG will kill me as well.
No, they love you.
That's true.
You're making them rich.
No, there's a couple times they've emailed me and be like, see how you can become more energy efficient compared to the houses in your neighborhood. And they send me charts. And they're like, this is what you're terrible at. And I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. I work from home a lot, now less. I haven't been going 2 places the last couple weeks. But yeah, dude, I don't think it's happening, unfortunately. I'll do the cooler method. I will fill a cooler with ice and put it under this desk.
At some point, they're going to get less and less polite with the emails.
Yeah, hey, asshole, stop using so much energy.
You're going to be like, listen up, pal.
That's nicely for months.
You're actually killing the planet. Yeah. You see the Bernie Sanders memes where it's like, I am no longer asking.
Yeah.
That's the power company to your bill.
It's so true. Funny story, I actually answered, they had to check the meter today for the first time in who knows how long. First time since I've lived here. And when I answered the door, I could sense the disappointment on their face when they left. They're just like, oh, this guy. So, yeah, here we are. Well, cooler and ice.
Well, we're at least keeping the laptop and the microphones and the cameras on to make sure.
Better Call Saul style, cooler and ice.
Look, that's fine. However you need to get it done. Which, look, that's not the only time that we're going to be talking about chilled drinks here on this podcast, because I know one of the questions specifically we'll be asking you, if you have that cooler upstairs, what's going to be in it. But before we jump into the mailbag questions, which, guys, obviously there's plenty of football questions as well. That's actually where we're starting on the podcast. Got to do everybody's favorite ad read. This is the Manscaped ad. Our friends at Manscaped, they're talking to all the gentlemen out there. All men strive for gold in their life, right? That is the standard. You got gold medals, gold watches, gold everything. That's what we're all chasing for. However, there is a certain type of man who goes that extra mile, who walks in the confidence of an eagle, who giggles in the face of danger. He is a big, hairless, winning machine. And when he unzips his pants, he sees he sees platinum. We're going next level here. That's right. Manscaped would like to introduce to you their best and biggest ultimate hygiene bundle yet, the Platinum Package 4.0. Manscaped is the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Now you can trust them with the whole shebang. Join the 4 million men worldwide. You trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com, using the promo code NFLSE to get 20% off and free shipping. Manscaped's brand new Platinum Package 4.0. It's the biggest bundle they have ever given you for a bulk discount on Manscaped top products. 20% off and free shipping using that promo code NFLSE. It's time that you enjoy the finer things in life by getting yourself a Platinum Package for your Platinum Package. Also, just wanted to shout out, since we're doing the ad reads at the beginning of the show, PFF has an app now. That is right. If you are an Apple user, you can go to the App Store and get a PFF app. We're going to have everything possible on there. And if you love what you see early on, it is only going to be better. The whole app is unlocked and free for everybody to use before the season starts. So this is a great time to download it. Get a lot of the premium features that you could see on the app right now. Just go to the App Store, download it. Pro Football Focus, PFF, you'll be able to find it very, very easily. Connor, you ready to get into some of these questions?
Yeah, let's rock. We got a lot to get through today, and a really good mix of fun and football just to make everybody happy.
This one's kind of the obvious one, the one that I figured that we'd get, but I figured that we would start the show with it because it's topical. Patch Chamberlain asked this one, simply put, what players being cut this week surprised you the most?
Oh man, I thought the veteran safety market looked pretty good. Tony Jefferson got cut by the Ravens.
Yeah.
He's obviously a really nice player and can handle a lot of different roles, not just for a base defense, but I think he's a guy that could still play specials if he needed to, be a third safety, a flex safety. Anthony Harris was another one, which isn't surprising when you factor in the trade for the Eagles. Huge trade getting Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for a day 3 pick swap because he wants to get paid. So the Eagles are a very exciting team to watch in terms of roster management this year. Howie's been really active. So those were two that really jumped out to me. Philip Lindsay from the Colts, I thought was one that I still think he's got something in the tank as a third running back. So I think he'll find a home somewhere. And a couple waiver transactions have actually just come in as we started the show. So we'll see some of those guys find new homes. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, Tony Jefferson's not even that old. And I know he played really well when he was in Arizona. He got a big payday when he was in Baltimore. And Baltimore's safety room is pretty stacked, especially with drafting Kyle Hamilton as early as they did in the first round. It's not like they were going to let there be any kind of excuse for him to not hit the field. If he's ready to hit the field, they're gonna let Kyle Hamilton out there. So I get it, but I am kind of surprised that Tony Jefferson was on the chopping block because Baltimore is one of those teams where they're trying to create the best roster possible. This is a playoff team, a team that's got division title aspirations, and this team was also extremely beat up in the secondary last year.
Yeah,
right?
They were.
So maybe it's something that if Tony Jefferson goes, unsigned, he's kind of sitting around a little bit waiting to sign with the contender because he's a veteran. Maybe he ends up going back to Baltimore if anything like that were to happen. We'll see. I mean, he said there were no hard feelings when he tweeted about it the other day. OJ Howard, man.
Oh, man. Good one. Because he got a decent deal. Like not a bet minimum.
What is it, like 3.5? I think it was 1 year, like $3.5 million. They're paying him basically that entire salary for him to not be.
Yeah, at least $2 million. All it was like, wow, how bad was he that they just couldn't even be a third tight end?
Do you remember where you had OJ Howard ranked?
I don't. I have to look. If I. Oh.
No. When was
I mean, certainly too high considering how things have gone. That's all I could say right off the top of my head. I gotta find that.
Was that 2017? It was 2017.
God, it was a long time ago.
He went 19th overall. He went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 19. And when you remember that draft class, that was a draft class that had David Njoku, it had Evan Ingram in it, and had OJ Howard in it. I think I had, and people ask us this question all the time. They talk about like, hey, who are some of your draft misses? Who are the guys that you learned from? I had OJ Howard as, I think, my 4th overall player that year. When Tampa got him at 19.
Oh, you're probably
out. 100%. I understood it because I was like, okay, it's a tight end. Like, it's not necessarily a major premium position. But I thought to myself, I was like, you already have such a high floor in OJ Howard because of how great he was as a blocker coming out of Alabama. And then you had the couple of games where they leaned on him in the passing game where he would just get these giant chunk plays because he was an unreal alien athlete for the tight end. Well, I can't even say that anymore because Kyle Pitts exists. So I can't even exactly say that phrase. But OJ Howard, for as big, as athletic, as strong as he was, I thought this was just going to be the Bucs tight end for next year. And I thought that he was so talented. Not only could he not cut it on the Bucs, I get it, he was hurt, but that was a 2 tight end system. It was very friendly to get him in the game all the time. It's not like he ever really dominated in a single season, even when he was healthy. So even bouncing around the injuries, he just was not what I thought he was going to be. And for him to get cut in Buffalo, I'm raising my hand. Scouting miss, man. He could not put it together. I did not weigh enough how little Alabama used him in the passing game and the reasons why that would be. So O.J. Howard was a big shock to me, too.
Were you at the Senior Bowl that year in 2017?
Yes.
Man, that was not my first Senior Bowl, but definitely early in when I had started going to the event.
I think that was my first Senior Bowl.
I think it was my second or third, probably second, 2017. Yeah. And I mean, dude, like, that was a classic case. And this happens at the Senior Bowl. I'll admit this. For all the great things it does, there's also a lot of guys that blow up. And Howard was obviously a well-known player, but when he went to the Senior Bowl, that was when that talk started. How are they not throwing to this guy more? He is unguardable out here because he's too big. He runs well. He's big enough frame that he's going to be an effective blocker. And yeah, like you said, unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out. And that's a really good call. That was a big surprise to not stick as the at least third tight end on that team.
So by the time that this podcast comes out, Alex Leatherwood may have a new home.
Oh, good Lord.
But dude, that run of draft picks from 2019 to 2021 for Mike Mayock and John Gruden.
I have a take on that situation.
Go off, King. Go off.
And maybe I'm wrong here, but from just people I've talked to over the years and a couple things, heavily falls on Gruden, and Mayock is this. I feel bad, is what I'm trying to say. I think this tarnishes Mayock's reputation really on social media. I don't think anybody in the NFL looks differently at him. But on social media and draft fans, when I know for a fact, from knowing people there during that regime, that there was times where Gruden just had to have a guy. There was too many times where Gruden had to have a guy. And they had a lot of really good day 3 picks during that regime. Max Crosby comes to mind. That I don't want to say like, oh, Mike Mayock had all the good picks, Gruden had all the bad picks. But I really do think that this falls on John Gruden, who had full control there, and Mike Mayock is the ultimate fall guy.
Well, I think that, you know, you're not alone in that thinking. I don't want to say like it's well accepted around the league, but there's a lot of people who at least believe that the early round picks were Gruden. Like Gruden was making the first, second, third round picks. Like he was basically top 100 picks. Gruden had, at least this is kind of the vibe that I get from the things that I have heard from people a lot closer to the situation than me. It feels as though the early picks were Gruden and Mayock really took control of that day 3. And when you look at it, that 3-year stretch, only good players we got left basically for the Raiders. Max Crosby, Nate Hobbs.
Yeah, Nate Hobbs.
Hunter Renfrow.
Yep.
Those are all 4th, 5th round picks. Like those are if what we are being told is actually true, and like those are the Mayock rounds, those are the only hits that actually happened because, brother, 2019, Cleveland Farrell, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Abram. They had 3 first-round picks. 3.
Missed on all 3.
They already traded Trayvon Mullen, who was the 2nd-round pick that year, and then it was Max Crosby, Isaiah Johnson, Foster Moreau, and Hunter Renfrow. Next year, Henry Ruggs, gone. Damon Arnett, gone. Lynn Bowden, traded immediately. Brian Edwards, gone.
Tanner Muse was super early.
Tanner Muse, who was 91 spots ahead of where he was on the consensus draft board from the Athletic. 91.
Trevor, I didn't have him that year. I think I didn't do 315 like I did that year. I think I got up to 205. Didn't have him on the board. When they took him, I was like, what for what? You're drafting what you think is a special teams ace in the 3rd round? It was wild, dude. Wild. The Arnett pick to me is somehow still the most unforgivable one. Way more than Leatherwood.
It's crazy, man.
The Arnett pick was insane.
And then the next pick, Alex Leatherwood in the 1st round, who was a 2nd round hybrid tackle guard prospect who they drafted in the middle of the 1st round to play offensive tackle for them, which was just like, that's on them. That's on them.
Yeah,
if you looked at Alex Leatherwood, who I still think is a talented player.
Me
but
too.
Like where he got drafted, the expectations were just way too high. It was just way too high on him. Alex Leatherwood in the middle of the 1st round, Trayvon Merrick, who I really liked, who was my top safety that year. Okay, in the 2nd round. All right, he's been fine. I mean, it's not like he's been majorly impactful, but he's been fine.
Yeah, he's a nice player.
Malcolm Kuntz overdrafted, Divine Diablo overdrafted, Kyrie Gillespie, Nate Hobbs, and then Jimmy Morrissey. Those are Mayock's 3 drafts, man. it's just it's one of the worst stretches of draft picks we're ever going to see.
It's jarring. I mean, I've obviously intensely covered the Mike McCagnon drafts, and those weren't even as bad as this. And I never thought I would see something like this.
Other guys who got cut, who I'll mention before we move on to the next one. McTelvin Agim, the third-round defensive tackle from 2019 from the Broncos. Very surprised they released him. I get it. He wasn't exactly what they thought that he would be. He didn't develop yet, but I thought he had a really nice preseason, especially towards the end. So, yeah, I think that's probably what you got to chalk it up to.
Happens a lot.
Wasn't the staff that drafted him. So, him,
happens a lot.
Marlon Mack, which makes me sad. I mean,
I know, me too, man.
When Mack got hurt, it just seems like he's not the same guy now. Which
maybe one of the nicest people in the NFL. Where we had him on at Radio Row in Miami a couple of years ago, and
yeah,
and it's just you just feel awful a guy like that is so like quiet and humble, and he seemed to have good intentions, and it's just the injury has set him back after looking so promising. Well, I think he'll catch on somewhere, at least a practice squad. But
I think so too, but I thought Marlon Mack had a chance to be like a starting running back, even for a short period of time.
Dude,
I thought that he could be a starting running back, but
absolutely.
It's word to the wise for everybody out there. Skill position players, really everybody, but especially skill position players. When you tear your Achilles, it's tough. If you're a corner, if you're a running back, if you're a wide receiver, if you tear your Achilles, that's tough, man. That's really tough to come back from. So super bummed out for Marlon. Hope he obviously lands somewhere else. And then the last one, what was the last one? Oh, wasn't a cut, but brother, how did the Philadelphia Eagles get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for that price? What? This is one of the best slot defenders in the league.
I know.
This is one of the most feared, annoying defenders.
It's very annoying.
In the NFL. And Howie Roseman, salute emoji, my guy. Like that, for you to get this player for that price, man.
Howie's
amazing. Love it.
Howie's starting to get into I'll give Howie credit for this. Howie has done a really good job to accumulate more picks from pick swapping. But Howie, with that extra capital, is starting to dip his toes in the Rams water of like, I will trade picks for proven vets at any moment. And I respect it.
But he's doing it in I
more
like
efficiently,
the part that you
right?
Efficiently is the word that I would use, because the Rams, they're not really wheeling and dealing to
they just don't draft. They don't draft.
Right. They just don't draft. Howie's out here wheeling and dealing, moving up and down, getting a bunch of picks. And
from the Saints.
Right. Because didn't they just pick up a draft pick already for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the Ugo Amadi trade?
Yeah, I believe so. And I'm thinking of just the pick swapping heist that they pulled off this year.
But even, I think the price that they paid, unless I'm completely misremembering it, you might be able to fact check me on this one. I think for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, it was a
5th and a 7th swap.
5th round pick in next year's draft. It was a 7th round pick in the year after draft. And then didn't like Philly get one pick back like in 3 years or something crazy or whatever? But all that to say, they had already picked up an extra draft pick when they traded off J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, I believe. So
he was pretty close to free, honestly.
Howie's doing a great job. He's doing well. We'll get to characteristics of GMs because that's actually another question that I want to get to. But we'll move on. We got Johnny's question up next. I just got him in order here. Johnny asked this one: what is the best uniform currently in the NFL? Could be one of the new retros if that's the way you're leaning.
Oh, man. A lot of contenders here. I mean, of course, we got to get it off the top. The Chargers powder blues are always pretty iconic.
Number one.
I really like the Ravens all-black uniforms. In this era of everybody having an all-black uniform, I think the Ravens are like top class in a sense of mastering it. There's just something about the purple trim and their logo pairing perfectly. And I think they nailed the number font.
Yep.
I love the Ravens black uniforms. It also helps that they have one of the coolest players in the NFL wearing it, in Lamar Jackson. That kind of factors in as well.
It does.
I'll do one more before I throw to you. 2 throwbacks I really like. Love the Eagles throwbacks and love the Giants throwbacks that are arriving this year. They're the old Giants uniforms. They're bringing them back this year. They're awesome. It should be the Giants' regular uniforms, personally. It has much more character than their modern uniforms. So I'm glad to see those returning back with a much better helmet as well.
Are you talking about the Kelly Greens?
For the Eagles?
For the Eagles?
So they don't wear this one. I like the white better. Jalen Hurts has worn it as a press conference, but I also am a sucker for the Kelly green.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I know which. No, those are clean. Those are pretty clean too. You know, speaking of clean, I like the Vikings when they do the all purple.
Yeah, it's a good all purple.
The all purple look I like a lot. In the same vein, I like the Bengals all white, especially with the white helmet.
That's the all white uniform that yeah, it rocks. It's awesome.
It's gonna be beautiful. And then any Bucs fan listening to this is gonna hate me for it, but I'm sorry. The Saints, all blacks,
great uniforms
with the gold helmet, and when they're wearing the gold shoes.
Ooh, one more.
It's intimidating.
And this is like a little bit of a polarizing one because I know some people hate it. I think it's one of the best that's released lately. I really like the Packers alternate throwback that they wore for the first time last year. It's green and the numbers yellow. The stripes, the two stripes and the Nike sign on the side are yellow.
Oh, what, the color rush?
Is it a color rush? I know they're wearing them this year again.
I think it's a color
They have
rush.
green pants. I love it. It looks very North Dakota State meets the NFL in a good way. Like not collegey, like trashy.
This is, I think.
I really like this uniform.
You know what? I feel like Color Rush got, oh yeah.
It slaps, dude.
I don't love green and yellow just objectively as colors together, but I don't hate this.
Yeah, it's nice.
I don't hate this. I don't hate it.
London Dynasty #1, of course.
Of course, yes, of course. Shout out to the pod. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I loved a lot of the Color Rush uniforms. I feel like a lot of people hated on them on social media.
It was done right for what they are. They are we wear these once to be they pop. They're called Color Rush. They're supposed to pop. This goes back to like the argument I have all the time about the City Connect jerseys Nike's releasing for MLB. Started last year. It's a 3-year project. They'll finish it next year. People are like, I don't like how different these are. The point is, they're supposed to be extremely like eccentric, popping out and have a connection. Like they're supposed to, the City Connect connects to the city. There's something different from the team's traditional colors. Like Boston did the Boston Marathon things. The Marlins did the the very Cuban-centric uniforms. Like the NFL wanted to do something different, and they did. If the people that don't like these things just don't like the change, that's it. That's why they don't like them, for the most part.
People
I get it,
like change,
but I don't agree with it.
I do like change. I like change. I like change.
Change is good.
I like change.
Change is good.
When it's better. There you go.
Yes.
Paul asked this next one. Better fantasy football running back for 2022. Dameon Pierce, Houston, or Breece Hall in New York? I'll let you take the floor for this one because it involves your New York Jets.
I think out of the gate, it's Pierce. I think if Michael Carter gets banged up again, it's going to be Hall for the long term. The Jets really like Breece Hall, and they cut Tevin Coleman, who's going to eat into those guys' carries a little bit here and there. Now, Pierce, to argue, there's nobody on that roster that scares you at all.
Right.
At some point, Davis Mills is going to have to throw the ball down the field, or else Dameon Pierce is going to be seeing a lot of defenders in his face. So it's very tricky. I think Pierce has the more hype out of the season gate. I like Hall's long-term outlook better. It's kind of a hedge of an answer, but it's the truth.
So you'd say, like, Dynasty, you'd go Breece Hall. But
Dynasty, I'd go Breece Hall. Redraft, I'd go Pierce.
I mean, I'm going Dameon Pierce no matter what. That doesn't
surprise me.
So I'm gonna be going with Dameon Pierce no matter what. Gator great. He's in the better situation, meaning that there's nothing in front of him, and volume is king when it comes to fantasy football. So,
but is their line going to be effective? Better situation. That's what I think.
That's true. That's true. Wow. Hold on. Are we out here? Are you out here championing the New York Jets offensive line already?
Compared to Houston? At least they have Laken Tomlinson and AVT at guard. I mean, Kenyon Green looked good when he finally played, but he's not even set to start. I hate when you make me put my Homer hat on. The Texans line is terrible. Terrible.
I love making you do that. I love making you put the Homer
gross. Hat. Two awful teams.
All right, this next one's from Tony. Tony Lee, if you could go back and attend any college football game ever and see it live, which game would you choose? Doesn't have to be a championship game. He said any game at all in college football history.
USC Texas, the Vince Young game.
I think that's the obvious easy answer.
Yeah, I just remember watching it on TV as a kid, and it was probably pretty late. I was like I was just mesmerized. It was one of those moments when you're young that you truly fall in love with college football.
Dude,
That's
and it had everything, right? I mean, like
everything.
It had all the stars. It had like the best players were healthy playing in the game, and it just came down to the.
It felt like it meant so much.
Yes.
And I hate to say this, it's just because we're older. I don't think it feels that way as all the time anymore. It just felt like it meant so much.
So okay, along those same lines, I wrote down a couple of games.
Okay.
Because that obviously the 2006 Rose Bowl between USC and Texas is the one that comes to my mind as well. I think that's again the obvious answer. But if you're not going with that one, Miami, Ohio State in 2002, okay? Seeing all of those NFL players play for a national championship, and then the play at the very end of was it pass interference, was it not pass interference? I think that was monumental. But again, that was kind of almost it was 2 decades ago now. The other one that I would pick is Alabama, Ohio State in the college football playoff when Ohio State won the national championship, beating Alabama, the Ezekiel Elliott, what is the phrase? The run straight through the South or something, whatever it is.
I forget it too.
Straight down the heart of the South. But it's like that Ohio State team, unbelievably stacked, beating Alabama. And now that we look back on it, they beat Alabama in the middle of what is the greatest college football dynasty of all time.
Yeah, it was pretty shocking.
And I think that like that game also holds a ton of significance just to see that happen and all of those NFL players playing in that game. That would be such a cool game to go back and watch. The other one that I would throw out there that wasn't a championship game, LSU versus Texas A&M, the 7 overtime game that ended 74-72. One of the craziest games I've ever watched on TV, but that one was that I'd love to go see that game too, just because it was back and forth. I would also love to go see a game in like 1942.
Just to see what football was
like Notre Dame versus USC,
or
Paul
Harding,
like Notre Dame versus Michigan or something.
No doubt.
I just want to see what football was like at that point. I want to be sitting in the stands, and I would love to see like what a throwback game would be. So that's my answer for that too. Man,
freaking okay. So 2 for me would be the kick 6.
Ooh, for that moment.
Kick 6
for that moment.
Kick 6 has to be like you're in the stadium and you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe that just happened. And then the play, Cal Stanford, the band is on the field.
Yeah.
That just, I could watch that a million times and find something new. It's like Where's Waldo with the Easter eggs. There's so much going on. Going on.
Hold on. Detail here is, are you going back in time knowing what's about to happen, or are you going back in time and you're somehow putting yourself in the stands, getting to experience everything that's about to happen for the first time? Because I think that matters too.
It does. I mean, it could go either way, because there's part of me that if I know, I would like to like joke with the people around me in the crowd.
Oh, I'm not joking. I'm taking bets.
Well, there's no betting.
I'm actually.
Unless you're mob related.
Well, 100% I am.
There's no FanDuel on the iPhone and DraftKings.
I am taking people's money in the stands and then somehow disappearing. The Angels are going to bring me back to my present time, but I get to keep the cash in my pocket.
You called DraftKings from a payphone. Hello, Auburn is plus 600 on the money line right now. Can you please lay my bank account on this? Because I swear something crazy is about to happen. My heart.
I just have a hunch. And then then I get like arrested by the FBI or something, and they bring me in for interrogation, and they're like, "How did you know this?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm from the future." And they're like, "No, how did you really know?"
And then they make you disappear, and that's that.
And then they probably kill me. Actually,
you'd be disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think that through all the way, I guess. It's probably not worth the...
Go in not knowing. Go in not knowing. Celebrate with everybody or cry with everyone.
Story of this podcast. We want you guys to get ready for NFL Week 1 with DraftKings Sportsbook, speaking of betting. An official betting sponsor of the NFL. If you bet just $5 on any football game, could be the kick 6 if you already know the ending, you get $200 free in bets instantly. Now everyone can also experience the thrill of DraftKings early win promotion. If you get up 7, you win. That's it. You bet on any team in the NFL of your choice, and if they get up by 7 points at any point during the game, you get paid instantly, even if your team loses in the end, which is crazy. DraftKings is a safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code PFF and get that $200 free in bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on any football game. It's PFF as the code. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for terms and resources. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Tennessee, call the text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. In New York, call 8778 HOPENY or text HOPENY. One per new customer. Minimum $5 deposit and wager. $200 are issued in 825 free bets. All right, next question. As the fan, this one's from Dan, and I assume his name is just Dan, but he writes just Dan on his Twitter account. As a fan of a perpetually rebuilding team, the Detroit Lions, my question is, what types of moves and strategies do you guys see in rebuilding front offices that make you think they're going to be successful or a failure in the long term? What about, I think this is a great question. I love this question because this is a draft podcast, obviously. So we talk a lot about how we can see teams being better. We talk about what we would do if we were in the GM seat. But Connor, what are some characteristics or some signs of good front officemanship or good GMs in the NFL?
Clear the money, the bad money, which might take you a year or two, or if you're Joe Shane working for the Giants, God knows how long, thanks to Dave Gettleman. So clear the bad money, see if you can move some of that money for low-end draft capital in return for a team that might still value the player, or just find a way to get out of the contract.
Sure.
Move the talent that is not in your rebuild window for as much draft capital as you can. Yep. I mean, Homer example, but Joe Douglas knew that the Jets weren't going to win in Jamal Adams' young prime, and safety was not a very important position to him, and Seattle gave him 2 first-round picks and a third. So, and that's an extreme example. I am well aware of that, but that is the example of, listen, we're probably not going to win with this guy. Why are we going to pay him as the most expensive safety in the NFL? Our new head coach that, his defensive system isn't relied on this type of safety. So that's and honestly, the best draft advice I can give is, don't try to fix things in one day by swinging for the fences on every single pick. Sometimes you just need to put it in a recruiting thing, like the really solid 4-star that might not have the athletic ceiling or the developmental ceiling of this 5-star player, but a guy that is going to be your left guard for the next 5 years, a guy that can be your number 2 corner, a guy that things like that, Trevor, where it's build some kind of foundation in the ground. And then the toughest part is you're going to need a little luck with the quarterback position, whether it's your draft slot, the quarterback class, and all those things. But position your team as best you can for when that quarterback does come in the building, that they have some successful pieces around them.
Yeah, to what you said, I actually totally agree. You don't want to hit the panic button and start picking players and start trading money as if you've got to win right away, or as if you've got to fix everything right away. And, I look at the Chicago Bears and what Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus are doing, and they were, they were in the crosshairs of a lot of criticism this offseason when they drafted players. But, objectively, when you look at their draft, it's like, all right, I like Kyler Gordon. Like, I like Jaquan Brisker. Like, these are good players. Like, these are guys who are going to make the Chicago Bears better. But everybody, myself included, was like, man, no O-line. O-line's not going to be good. No weapons for Justin Fields. And so sometimes it is. It's about kind of taking some bad press, if you will, maybe sticking to your guns and doing what you think needs to be done. When I thought about this question, there's a handful of characteristics that I thought about from a general manager that I think are these are characteristics that exist in all of the best general managers in the NFL. First one, being brutally honest with your strengths and weaknesses. There's a lot of different GMs in the NFL. There's some guys that came up through the scouting department. There's some guys who came up through the analytics department. There's some guys who came up from the salary cap management. There are all sorts of ways to become a GM. There's not a one-stop shop. There's not this one blueprint that you have to follow. You've got to be brutally honest with what you know really well, personally, what you know really well, and also, and maybe even more importantly, what you don't. Because I also think another characteristic is you've got to hire a great supporting cast around you in your front office, and you've got to let them do their job. I think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Jason Light, the general manager there, has done a really great job of this. Jason came up through the scouting tree. So he came up through that area of expertise, and he loves that scouting side of things. He loves the football guy scouting part of it. He hired Mike Greenberg very early on to be their cap guru, their cap guy, and he has let Mike Greenberg do his magic. And Mike Greenberg has been unbelievable at contract negotiations and keeping that team under the salary cap, being able to go after players when they think it's necessary for them, having team-friendly deals while also making sure that the players are happy being there. Jason understood this is an area of expertise where I need to hire somebody and just let them do that and then trust them to do that job. Work your ass off throughout the hiring process, find the right guy to do the job, and then let him do the job. And there's a lot of people in management, not just in football, but everywhere in every industry, that struggle with that because they want to have their hands in everything. They don't trust other people. You know, we think about, you know, as a negative example, I think about like when the stories of Dan Snyder coming in on draft day for the Washington football team and just drafting Dwayne Haskins because he wanted Dwayne Haskins. Like he just didn't even talk to the coaching staff, didn't talk to the scouting staff. Don't care. I'm coming in. Don't care that I pay you guys hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars collectively to do this and to create this draft board. I'm going to walk in and we're going to draft Dwayne Haskins. And I think about Jerry Jones with Dallas Cowboys. Now, that doesn't mean that every pick has been bad for the Dallas Cowboys, but Jerry Jones comes in and he picks who he wants to pick, right? I mean, that's how it is. And I just don't think that that's a very susceptible way to be a good football in a championship team. Another characteristic I have is I got two more. You got to be able to admit mistakes. You've got to be able to
don't hold on to players too long.
You can't hold on to players too long, whether it's free agent signings, whether it's guys that you thought would start, whether it's draft picks that you drafted early that you took a chance on. You have to be able to admit mistakes. You've got to be able to hear criticism, understand and digest the criticism that is worth digesting, evolve from it, and move on from your mistakes. That is how you create a good football team because, look, man, the draft ain't perfect for anybody. Even the best drafters out there, they have misses, but it's the ones that handle their misses the right way, learn from them, and are able to move on that I think stick around. And then the last one I have is you can't stick your head in the sand. You know, whether it's like analytics or the way you used to do scouting or like how the cap used to be or like whatever it is. If there is somebody out there in the league, because so much stuff is public now about how teams operate. If there's somebody who's out there doing something really, really well and it's working and it's revolutionizing what they do, learn from it, digest it, see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But don't stick your head in the sand about it. Don't be like, nah, we're not bringing analytics into this building. We're doing things the old school way. It's just not a way to survive. It's not a way to adapt. So those are a handful of qualities that I think truly make the best general managers. And I think if they have those qualities and they put those into practice, that's what makes rebuilding successful for some teams and failures for others.
Nailed it. I couldn't agree more. And I think that it's tough. Like you don't see a ton of jams, honestly. And that's why so many guys don't last too long. It's a hard job to fulfill. Have all of those qualities. There's always some kind of, you're right. The best ones have the people around them that could supplement their weaknesses. That's the best way to put it.
Yep. Andrew asked this next one. I like this question. It's a little bit of a non-football question. First of all, what house does your co-host belong to in Game of Thrones and or Harry Potter? And then he wants a college football week 1 lock.
Wow. Okay. Well, Harry Potter for you is very easy. You are a Gryffindor to a T. And I don't throw around Harry Potter compliments. This is kind of funny. One time I said to one of my best friends, his girlfriend, that she was a Hufflepuff, and like she will not forgive me to this day. So I take this, and I was like not like being a jerk. I was just like trying to talk about the good qualities. You are Gryffindor. So House Gryffindor, the traits are courage, bravery, determination, daring, nerve, and chivalry.
Wow.
I feel like, it's a big compliment. I'm not just saying this because you're my co-host.
I'm blushing.
You are absolutely every bit of a Gryffindor. I think you have good intentions. I think you definitely fight the good fight against evil. I don't see any other house that fits you.
So
Game of Thrones, I will get a little in the weeds after you go.
So I'm gonna be honest here. I haven't even finished Harry Potter.
That's okay,
dude.
It's been a long time for me. I'm not really a huge Harry Potter fan.
Harry Potter is my fiance's like favorite show growing up. She read all the books immediately, and we just went through all the movies, and I'm actually on the last movie. I'm on Deathly Hallows Part 2. So
so you know enough about the houses. That's the same for me. Like I have
a little bit, but like I don't know, and like I know you wouldn't be a Hufflepuff. And
no.
You're not.
I'm not Gryffindor though.
You're not evil enough to be Slytherin, right?
I don't know. I don't think I'm like inherently. No. But I do like.
You think you're evil?
I do like being a heel, like in terms of like wrestling. Like I definitely lean that way. So it could. Slytherin though is like truly evil. I'm not truly evil.
Right. That's why. Like I don't know enough about the houses. So okay, what's the Game of Thrones one? Let's move on to Game of Thrones one because
Game of Thrones is tough.
I don't know where to. I wouldn't know where to place you in a Harry Potter one. I haven't.
So this I know more about than Harry Potter. I'm just more of a Game of Thrones fan. I think I've got down to 2 for you, and they're not like the same houses that are primarily featured in either Thrones or House of the Dragon, which is like Starks, Targaryens, Lannisters. I think you're kind of a mix between House Mormont, which is House Mormont is like you got the beard and the long hair now. They're a northern island. They're a very secluded castle.
Sure.
They have a great weapon. That's their calling card of their family. They do have one of the Valyrian steel swords. I think that they're generally in the older times before the end of Game of Thrones, and even at the end of Game of Thrones, they are the house that sticks by the north side to fight. Like they call them to their arms. They're not like this illustrious rich house like the Tyrells or the Lannisters or something like that. You're more of like hey, we're doing our thing over here. We're very loyal. So I think Mormont's a deep cut for you.
I actually don't hate that. I did not.
They have a great sigil. Have you seen their arm? Their banner.
Oh wait, it's like a bear.
Yeah, it's a bear. It's very cool because they live on Bear Island. That's their. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go with a Mormont for you.
I wasn't sure which one that you would be because you're not a Targaryen. You're not a Lannister. You're sort of a Stark.
Okay.
I think that's where I would lean the most because then it's like, all right, I probably wouldn't put you in House Tyrell unless you hunt a lot more than I think you do.
No, I don't.
Then you're not going to be a Baratheon. So I don't.
With the stag. So I really like the Stark because a low-key dream of mine that when I get out of the city that will happen. I want like a pack of shepherds. You can't really have wolves.
All right, then you're definitely House Stark.
I want like 3 shepherds that I don't have to leash. They just walk behind me, very well trained. I spend every waking hour I have when I'm not talking about sports training these shepherds.
Then you're absolutely.
I hope I get my way.
That's what it would. Characteristically, I felt like House Stark was the one that was closest to you. If I had to box you into another one, it might be House Martell. Because like Greyjoy wouldn't work. Bolton wouldn't work. Tully wouldn't work. Frey wouldn't work.
Truly evil.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say House Aaron.
Yeah, they're kind of weird. Right?
I don't know enough about House Tarly.
Yeah, we didn't really see a lot of them. Besides
I think
Sam Kane was like exiled from them.
No. That's Tully. There's 2 different ones. Tully is Sam's.
No. Sam's a Tarly. Tully is Ned's wife. Catelyn.
Oh, you are right. You're right. What was Brienne?
Tarth? Yeah, we don't see much of them besides her.
Okay. All right. Well, you're Stark. Congratulations.
Wow. Big compliments here on the question. Do you have a CFB lock? Because I didn't love week 1 when I went through it all.
I actually don't love week 1, but my lock is Utah State getting 41.5 against Alabama.
Nice. That's a good one. That's
41.5? Because like Utah State's not like the shittiest college football team of all time.
No.
We see Alabama play early on in the season. And normally, if teams are getting 40 plus against Alabama, they're like D3 teams. Utah State's an actual football program. That's pretty disrespectful. And they're getting 41.5. So I'm gonna go with. I think that's my lock.
There was one team I thought was getting. Okay, so this is the one I've been keeping an eye on, subject to change. I know BYU opens up against South Florida on the road, and last I looked, it's supposed to be like insane rain. This could change, and the total was set way too high, way too high. So if you keep an eye on the weather radar and really want to lock, go with the under in that game. All right. And BYU traditionally doesn't come out scoring a ton to open the season. They are a team that the offense really gets cranking when the season goes on. So that was, dude, like I said, I had to really look deep this is before he asked the question. It's not a good week for college football betting.
And the lines on a lot of these games are pretty well placed. So I think that part of it,
they know what they're doing. As you said, your dad's famous quote, why do you think the casino buildings look this way?
That's true. That's very true. Tegan asked this next one. We'll go a little rapid fire for the last 20 minutes here.
Sure.
Can you give your thoughts and predictions on how NIL could impact the 2023 running back class? Would Bijan Robinson return for another season if he's offered enough NIL money? And not guaranteed as a first-round pick? Could other backs follow suit? Lack of second running back contracts makes the delay due to NIL a little bit more appealing. I think he's right. I mean, I think it's something that a lot of people are talking about, right? How NIL is going to change. Saying how desperate, it feels like the wrong word, but how enticing it might be to go to the professional level and start to make real money. But that's still, I think, only for like those top guys, you know, exactly. Like if you get to the pros and if you're getting a pro contract, even if it's not a first round pick contract, you're still making a lot of really great money. And honestly, for the running back position, a hit is a hit, man.
That's exactly right.
Like every single hit that you take, whether it's at the college or pro level, you only got so many that you're taking, right? It's the same thing as a camera lens. Camera lens only has a certain amount of clicks to it before it's just going to break down.
Yeah,
that's
it runs out.
And like that's how running backs kind of are. And so for as much as I think NIL is great because it's going to be able to help players who, especially at running back, who have the chance to really, unfortunately, get some major injuries to them, I don't think it's going to affect draft status that much. That's my opinion.
I agree. It's a really good question from Tegan. The internet is telling us that Bijan Robinson's NIL value is $1.6 million right now, which is a very nice number for a college student. Don't get me wrong. If I had 1/800th of that in college, I would have had a hell of a time. But the thing is, I can't express this enough because I used to work in this side of things a very, very long time ago. Fans don't see the amount of marketing or off the field deals that NFL players are involved with, because they could be digital ads, they're not just all in TV ads.
Yeah, it's a great point.
There's a lot of hidden money in the NFL of being an NFL player, even for guys that aren't frontline players on their teams that go do events, appearances, signings, all these different things. That money's still going to grow at the NFL level. So it's not going to affect guys like Bijan Robinson. Guys are going to go to the draft because, like you said, Trevor, they have to protect their legs. There's only so many hits they could take. And the NFL money will always be king. It's just that simple.
This one's from Rick. Which team will be the most fun to watch this year that wins 7 games or fewer? Which game will be the least fun to watch that wins 11 games or more? He said, my picks are the Falcons and the Colts, respectively. I would go Seahawks and Colts. I also think the Colts are going to be...
Man of chaos.
Why?
You're watching Geno Smith and Drew Lock for fun?
That's why they're entertaining.
It's so bad. That's why I said man of chaos.
I think Drew Lock's going to start at one point, and it's just going to be Drew Lock firing 15 targets a game to DK Metcalf.
That is kind of fun.
That's just what it's going to be. So I think the Seahawks for that reason, and obviously you never know what Pete Carroll's going to do as a head coach. That's why I picked the Seahawks there, and then the Colts, I also think that I'm bored of that division overall. I mean, I guess it's a little bit more competitive now because the Colts are better. I think the Titans are still going to be a good football team, but
doesn't it feel like that if Thursday Night Football had a division?
Oh, bro, of course, yeah. The official division of Thursday Night Football.
That's what it feels like.
They're the AFC South.
My pick would be, and maybe this is controversial because people seem way higher on them, I think the Lions are the team I like that wins 7 or fewer. I don't think the Lions are going to eclipse 7 wins, although I don't know what their win total set at. It's probably 7.5. I think the Lions are going to take a huge step forward this year, and I don't think that is all indicated by wins and losses. I think they're obviously in a tough division. Packers are really good. The Vikings are going to probably do some good things offensively with their new staff this year. The Bears, we'll see. But the Lions would be a very competitive, play hard team. And I thought his answer, the Colts being the least fun to watch team that wins 11 or more, is spot on.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunately. I think any Colts fans out there are going to be pissed at us because we say that. But look, we think that your team's going to win 11 games.
You're really
going
good.
to win 11 games. Be happy with it. Jared asked this next one. He said, some have compared Anthony Richardson to Cam Newton in terms of skill set, traits, tools alone. Based off those tools and traits alone, which one of these two goes number one overall? So I think that he's kind of saying, like, if you, I wasn't scouting at the time. I mean, I was following the NFL draft when Cam Newton came out in 2010, but taking what Cam Newton was known as after that season of Auburn, taking what Anthony Richardson could be and his athletic gifts of what he is at Florida, who would you be taking skill set wise? I think is what he's saying.
I mean, it's Cam. I think that understandably, because the Cam we have seen in recent years is not the Cam that was, MVP caliber Cam.
Right.
Anthony Richardson is really exciting. There's not a lot of people higher on what he can be, I think, than this show. I think people forget just how big Cam Newton is. Like, Cam Newton is like a legit 6'5", like 250 pounds that could run, throw a mile. Anthony Richardson's probably closer to 6'3 and a half, 230, so he's significantly smaller and a really big guy, Anthony Richardson. I just think Cam was such a unique talent coming out. It's pretty simple for me.
I think the answer has to be Cam Newton, even if you love Anthony Richardson. And this is obviously a fun question. Maybe we'll have an even deeper discussion on this if Anthony Richardson has one hell of a year. Maybe he's considered for the Heisman this year, but I'd certainly love that because I'm
that'd be fun.
Gators fan. But you got to pick Cam. You just got to pick Cam. He's one of the rare NFL talents of all time, and he's just been able to prove it over the last decade.
It would be disrespectful.
It would be disrespectful to not pick Cam, but I do understand, Jared bringing this up talks. I mean, I think it puts into context how athletically gifted Anthony Richardson is. And a lot of people believe that he could really be something special this year. It'd be fun if it is. Nathan asked this one. He actually DM'd us this. What are your thoughts on Brennan Armstrong, the Virginia quarterback? I was expecting him to be on your list for quarterbacks as he had a great year last year. PFF graded him quite highly in a lot of stats. It's actually the third highest returning grade by PFF for QBs behind the big two guys, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. Just wondering where he is lacking. It's not putting him in that top 3 to 10 QBs in this upcoming draft. Did you have a chance did you watch Brennan?
I watched a lot of him last year.
Okay.
To me, he's somebody that certainly can finish in this draft class as a top 10 quarterback. I think with Brennan Armstrong, it's kind of a simple answer, but I don't think he's the most physically gifted guy in terms of arm strength, running talent, all of those things. And to succeed that way, you almost need to be immaculate as a decision maker. So if that decision making really is excellent this year, and he'll be, not old, but he'll be a 23-year-old prospect. He turns 23 in October. Mm-hmm. So you always hope guys like that the arm does get stronger, but it's not like we're watching him as a 19 or 20-year-old. I think for me, Trevor, you just want to see, decision-making improve. He's thrown 21 picks over the last 2 seasons, which isn't like an insane amount, but it's notable. And I think that, once again, I just don't think he's somebody that's going to overwhelm you with raw talent compared to the beginning of this class. Like, Anthony Richardson's the perfect example of a guy that's the opposite. He has all the talent in the world, all the physical capabilities, but hasn't put out the same on-field product that Brennan has. So it's a really good name to bring up on the show, and somebody that we probably, in hindsight, should have discussed, at least on the back end of the show.
Yeah, I just look at the turnover-worthy plays with Brennan Armstrong. I think he brings you a lot of fun, but 21 turnover-worthy plays, that was tied for 6th most in the FBS last year.
He's a little reckless.
And if you sort it by, because he did throw the ball a lot, so you have a tendency to get more turnover-worthy plays the more you throw the ball. Even if you look at turnover-worthy play percentage, he was still top 25 or bottom 25, however you want to say it, in that turnover-worthy play percentage at 3.5%. So I think it's really just a decision-making thing with Brennan Armstrong, just making sure that he's going where he needs to with the ball, understand things at the pre and the post snap. And I know that that's a cliche for quarterbacks, but that really is kind of what it's all going to be about for him. That offense, he just throws the ball so much. It's almost like hey, I'm going to throw here. And if I make a mistake, cool. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to come back out throwing the next day or the next time out. that's fine. Like having short-term memory is fine. That just has to go down. Like those turnover-worthy plays have to go down. He needs to take care of the football a little bit more. And if he does that, we're going to see some more really great PFF grades for him. And he's definitely going to be somebody that we talk about before next draft season. Joe asked this next one. For the eventual mailbag episode, I have a question. Kyle Shanahan traded 3 first-round picks to go get Trey Lance and sat him for an entire year. Matt LaFleur traded up for Jordan Love and sat him for 2 years, now going on 3 seasons. This offseason, Lance has flashed a bit inconsistent, while Love has looked awesome. If both players become quality NFL starters, will more teams be willing to draft and develop highly drafted quarterbacks? Well, the Eagles did this as well, right? I mean, like the Eagles were in a situation where we thought that they weren't going to press for quarterback, and they've ended up bringing in a handful of guys over the last couple of years, Jalen Hurts being one of them, and Jalen Hurts obviously being the main quarterback now in Philadelphia. So I think that we see this, but Joe is asking it more at a very high level, first round pick kind of a level. What do you think about this, Connor? Do you think this is a trend?
Oh man, it's a good question. I think there's always the hesitation of creating a powder keg quarterback room internally and externally, where it's the only thing analyzed. And it's fascinating to me because in theory, you should always be trying to develop the most important position in sports, right? Like that's really what it comes down to.
Sure.
With the amount of injuries in the sport, mental failures at times, guys go through tough. Like we thought 2017, Carson Wentz was going to be a top 5 quarterback in this league for 12 years, right? Things happen.
Quickly.
So quickly. So freaking quickly.
We throw out the phrase, oh, you'll have them for the next 10 years.
Ooh, I'm reckless with that.
Way too much, man.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody in this league lasting 10 years.
No.
The percentage is so far below 1%. And we are not honest with ourselves how quickly this league changes. How quickly. That's an exercise that you and I might be able to do and have a lot of fun with. Let's just go down depth charts of the 2017 NFL season and see how different all of these teams look in the NFL, and to think of what we thought they were going to be forever. That might be a fun exercise to do at some point.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's all of the pressure when you're trying to develop a quarterback long term, but some of the rewards are saying, hey, hang on and deal with that pressure. So it's a great question that the true answer is time will tell. And I think every player is in a unique situation because you have the flip side of all the guys that played pretty early on and seemed fine, or the guys that played too early on, didn't seem fine, but didn't really improve in situations where they were allowed to sit and develop. You know what, Trevor? Mitch Trubisky is going to be a fascinating one, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Mitch Trubisky's a guy that it didn't work out in Chicago for a lot of reasons. He went to Buffalo and just sat, and everybody's buying back in, and we're going to see it this year. So a great question that I think the NFL is cautiously watching all of those unique situations.
I don't know if it's going to become a full-blown trend.
No, listen, guys are always,
but I do think it's on
play a lot
GM's radars. You know, like I think that drafting a quarterback is always going to be on their radar because, like you said, it's the most valuable position, whether it's for your team or in trade value. If these guys can be good, so I think that I don't know. I probably would say that no, I don't think it's going to be a full on trend, but maybe we'll get a little bit more of these instances over the next couple of years. All right, Corey asked this one. I had to get this in the show. He said, now that the preseason is over, in hindsight, what was the biggest first-round reach pick, and why is the only answer Drake London? What? Corey, what are you talking about, my guy? Drake London was hurt. Are you saying that because he was hurt at USC and now he's hurt for the Atlanta Falcons, that means that he was overdrafted? Get out of here with that. This is a Drake London podcast, and I think Corey knows it.
Yeah, it was
trying to get under my skin, and you know what? It worked, damn it.
Oh, man.
A mad offline.
It's first off, like, imagine doing this question over the years with Jamar Chase or Odell Beckham, guys that had summers that, you know, it's always too early. That's what we're always going to say. I do like Corey's really riling things up here. I respect.
Look, I'm triggered.
I'm triggered. There you go. I respect the intentions to make you triggered, and it clearly worked. So maybe he wins this one for now.
I still think the answer.
He won the battle. He did not win the war.
I still think the answer is Trevor Penning.
If you want to give a serious answer to the question,
Yeah.
I agree.
I still think it's Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have to go look. I haven't. The obvious, normal, intelligent person thing to do would be to look at my board and actually see which first round pick was taken the earliest. Off the top of my head, I do think it's Penning as well.
Last one, we're ending with a fun one. This is Ben. He said, "You get 5 drinks for the rest of your life. Water doesn't count. What are the 5?"
Oh God, I don't even know if I don't even drink 5 drinks besides water.
See, I don't either. This is kind of hard.
Gatorade Zero.
What flavor? What flavor?
Lemon lime.
Okay, all right.
All the time.
Solidarity, baby.
I'm like,
I also have Gatorade lemon lime on my list.
Dude, so good.
Yes.
I don't really drink anything else. I put oat milk in my coffee.
Wow.
There was a time where did you drink a lot of milk as a kid?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't do it I can't drink milk anymore. Dairy.
Yeah, you're old now. Yeah,
sucks being old. I don't know what else I drink. Beer. I drink beer. Beer's on the list.
But like, what kind? You gotta have like a what?
Okay, Gatorade Zero lemon lime.
Okay, all right.
Modelo for my light beer.
Nice.
Yep. Sip of Sunshine IPA.
Oh, okay. All right, we're getting weeds.
Oban Scotch and Hendrick's Gin. Those are the 5 drinks I would drink for the rest of my life.
Damn, yours is more alcoholic than mine. So
I would just drink the Gatorade all the time. I could drink water.
I went with like I don't know, versatility. So like I have Gatorade lemon lime on mine.
Okay.
I have whole milk on mine just because it's like I'm gonna need like milk.
You're gonna need it for things. That was smart.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So I got milk on there.
I screwed up.
And then I've got 3 alcoholic choices: beer,
nice.
Coors Light, baby. Coors Light. That is
my God.
That is my quote
what are we gonna
unquote
do
bad
with you?
beer of choice.
Man, boy,
Coors Light. When I'm tailgating, when I'm watching football, when I'm doing whatever, cold Coors Light in the hand, baby. Nothing like it. For seltzers, because I do drink a lot of seltzers, I went with a Vizzy. Just because I think
You're spiraling out of control right now.
That's fine. And then the last one is
red wine. You're a wine guy a little bit.
Man, I forgot wine. I have tequila on here because tequila is like super versatile.
Choice. Yeah.
But I think my answer is wine.
Yeah.
I think my answer's got to be like some sort of Cabernet, like a Quilt Cabernet or something.
It's funny if you asked this question to a person in like the 1700s and they would just be like red wine and and more red wine.
And that's it.
And then like tea.
Maybe milk.
They probably boiled tea back then, but they actually like went out and found the leaves and threw them in the boiled water.
All right, there we go.
Hopefully
that last question didn't deter you guys from listening to the podcast in the future. Got to remind people about our newest sponsor. It's our friends over at Symbol. They are the stock market for sports. Symbol was the PFF sponsor last year. They're back for this football season. They let you trade pro and college teams like stocks and earn cash dividend payouts when your team wins. Symbol took the thrill of sports betting and combined it with profitability of the stock market to give you a platform where fortune favors the fan. You can download the Symbol app on iOS, SIMBULL in the App Store. Use the promo code NFLSE, and you can get free team stock up to $150. Connor and I are going to be buying and selling teams throughout the season, so join us, get involved with it. Use that promo code NFLSE. Get yourself up to $150 and compete against the NFL Stock Exchange podcast this season using Symbol. Appreciate everybody who submitted the questions, made it for another fantastic mailbag episode. Monday, we go back to three shows a week, and we are coming out of the gate with a bang, baby. 2023 NFL mock draft. That's right, people. It's coming. It's time. We're going to give it to you guys, and it's going to be fun to look back on and make fun of ourselves for the picks that we have for the first mock draft episode. So,
dude, I can't wait. It's long overdue. This was a blast. It's going to feel so good being back on 3 times a week.
It is. I'm Trevor. That's Connor. Thanks for listening to NFL Stock Exchange. We'll see you guys on Monday.